Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to cover the latest developments in the Gaza Strip as the United Nations declared recently famine in Gaza, and as usual, the Israeli occupation is denying the crimes against humanity they are already committing there in Gaza, with the starving millions of people, in addition to displacing millions of people more than once, and also the killing of more than 62,000 civilians, mostly women, children, and minors. Well, to shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Wagih, and a very good morning.
A very good morning to you. Thank you.
Dr. Hassan, how do you see in the first place the denial of the Israeli occupation that there is famine in Gaza, despite the fact that the UN declaration was very clear?
Yes, this is counter to the will of the entire international community, or let me say the fair-minded people in the international community. This goes counter to that. Of course, we have been watching unbelievable humanitarian dilemma, humanitarian disaster that is unprecedented, by the way.
Yeah.
And the number of being killed, the number of being killed because of the firing on them or because they are starving is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the situation is a sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd so far.
Sir, also we've been watching during the 22 months of Israeli genocide war, and recently the demonstrators renewed their marches all over the world, and here I'm talking about The Hague, about Denmark in specific, where more than 10,000 protesters marched in the streets and asking Denmark to use their presidency of the European Union to put more pressure on Israel and to stop the sales of weapons to the Israeli occupation after all the atrocities and war crimes they already committed in the Palestinian enclave. How do you see the pressure of the public opinion in general?
Yes, the public opinion is exerting a great deal of pleasure, yes, but let me say that what happened in Holland with the collective resignation for people who really wanted to see justice being deployed on the land in Palestine, and actually I think this is escalating pressure would go to a point when many people would say enough is enough, and this pressure could turn out to a very strong reaction rather than what is being taking place these days. What is happening is atrocious, is inhuman, is unbelievable, and I think the pressure inside the United States and inside Europe is very telling, and all over the world, of course, is not only in Europe and the United States. And people start to speak out about this unbelievable, disastrous violation of international law and violation of basic human conventions.
As we were speaking about Denmark, the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said a very important sentence, which more than one important sentence to be accurate. She said Netanyahu himself became a problem, and she said that the Israeli genocide war went too far. And this was very frank, and I think of the very first comments by a Western leader to be that clear. And there are also calls from the Israeli opposition inside Israel to form a coalition government and to get rid of the current government in Israel. Do you think that really, if Netanyahu is not the one responsible for the Israeli government or the Prime Minister of Israel, something is going to change, or this is to continue to remain the Israeli policies, whatever the names are?
The last statement is correct. No matter the names are, because if you would like to put on the table religious Zionism and extremism, and some extremists will take over. The point is that, yes, we can have some people with some secular, so-called democratic orientation that would really benefit the peace process. But if you are talking about this wake-up call that's in an unbelievable proportions about religious Zionism, and when you are talking about that, and you can see that it is being supported by elements in the United States, the American foreign minister himself made something like that, and there is a divide among the military people all over in the United States itself. So there is growing pressure inside the institutions and the growing pressure in the street and in human rights activists, and the ordinary citizen is no longer accepting. And you know, in a recent statistics, 6% of the young people in America are supporting Israel. 6%. This invited Netanyahu to go to some programs to try to see what went wrong. No, what went wrong is your attitude, which is self-defeating strategy, obstinate and self-defeating, and you cannot impose this religious Zionism by occupying other countries. I think that this is illusion, and he is living in an illusion. He's living in an illusion of being king of Israel. You know, let me remind you of something, please. In 1973, Sharon went out and he said to Dayan, I besieged the Egyptian armed forces, and Dayan responded saying, and the armed forces of Egypt besieged you, you fool. And when he said, I am the king of Israel, they said, you are no longer anything, and you will be put on a trial. And I think Netanyahu will need the same fate if he tries to aggress on other countries around him.
Sir, let me put my question a little bit in other words and to have this kind of an equation. I have on one hand the international community pressures, whether the statements released by Western leaders or the demonstrators or the protests in different Western capitals against what the Israeli occupation is doing. And on the other hand, I have inside Israel the division inside the Israeli cabinet, in addition to the opposition, in addition to the protests of the families, at least of the hostages, which are all the time urging the Israeli cabinet to put an end to the current situation and to return to guarantee the release of the hostages. Which is heavier? Which is going to put more pressure on the Israeli cabinet?
I think it is a collective state of the matter. You are supposed to wait for this pressure to grow everywhere, so as things will turn out to change in the right direction, hopefully. But I think when it comes to which is which, I think the international community should be more stronger and should go for more implementation, because implementation of international law, resolutions. You know, what's happening in Gaza is not the only problematic thing now. The only problematic thing is that this orientation of the settlers who really attack people in the... And you know, when I heard yesterday that there are 10,000 olive trees, and the olive tree is a symbol of peace, by the way. When you are removing 10,000 olive trees for making a new settlement, this is disastrous. This is against peace, against humanity, against everything. These trees took hundreds of years to grow. I think this is terrible. What's happening is a disastrous thing, and it shouldn't. The entire world community should wake up more and more. And I don't think that the internal affair would do something good, because you know the orientation is there. The orientation should be, peace should be imposed. The language of power should be met with another language of power, and the international community should do that.
Let's wait and see, sir, and let's hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day for the Palestinians after all the sufferings they had been through for decades, and particularly in this Israeli genocide war, which lasted more than 22 months. We hope that we are going to find an end soon to this chaotic situation.
Let us hope for that.
Yeah.
and I think that Egypt is playing a great role in de-escalating and exerting
As
strategic
usual,
patience to the
Egypt
very
is
end.
only working for peace. Well, Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for your input, sir. Have a very good day. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more. Stay tuned.